The battle began with fire and fury. Captain Minji's defensive group opened fire the moment the Kravik swarm entered range. 6 human ships unleashing everything they had against a wave of 8 million enemies. It was like trying to stop an ocean with a wall of sand. But what a wall it was. Minji had positioned her ships in a formation called the Fortress. Each ship covered the others, creating overlapping fields of fire with no gaps. The mines activated as the first wave hit, destroying thousands of drones in brilliant explosions. Automated turrets tracked and killed targets with computer precision. Fire at will, Minji ordered calmly. Sustained rate. Do not waste ammunition. Her crews were veterans. They had trained for years to fight outnumbered. Every shot counted. Every kill mattered. They fired with disciplined efficiency, not the panic that council forces would feel. The Kravik crashed against the defensive line like waves against rocks. Tens of thousands died in the first minutes, but they kept coming. For every drone that fell, 10 more took its place. On the planet below, the evacuation continued. Council ships loaded refugees as fast as possible, then jumped to safety. The Valens watched the battle in the sky, seeing human ships surrounded by enemies firing continuously. They could not look away. Admiral Jinho's assault group punched through the Kravik formation with brutal speed. 6 ships in wedge formation, engines at maximum burn. They ignored the millions of drones around them and focused on one target, the dread carriers. The Kravik hive mind realized what Jinho intended. The 3 massive bioships were vulnerable. If the humans reached them, if they killed the queens inside, the entire swarm would lose coordination. The hive mind redirected 2 million drones to protect the carriers. Sensor contact, Hana reported. 2 million hostiles converging on our position. They are forming a shield wall around the dread carriers. Noted. Maintain course. All weapons fire for effect. The assault group's railguns thundered. Each ship fired continuously, clearing a path through the swarm. Dead drones filled space around them like a cloud of debris, but the Kravik kept coming. Captain Minho's cruiser Defiant took the lead position. His ship was the most heavily armed in the assault group. His weapons officer, a young woman named Jiwon Park, fired the main cannon in a steady rhythm. Each shot carved a tunnel through enemy formations. Captain, we are taking damage, his tactical officer reported. Hull breaches on decks 3 and 5. Some drones are getting through. Seal the affected sections. All crew to combat stations. We keep fighting. A Kravik warrior had landed on the Defiant's hull and was tearing through armor with its claws. Minho sent a damage control team to deal with it. They found the creature trying to claw into the reactor section. Without hesitation, the team opened the section to space, sucking the drone out into the void. This happened a dozen times across the assault group. Drones landed on hulls. Humans dealt with them. No panic, no fear. Just professional efficiency in the face of death. The assault group reached the first dread carrier after 40 minutes of fighting. It loomed before them, a living mountain of biological armor and weapons. Gun ports along its surface opened, revealing biocannons that could melt through normal ships. Marines go, Jinho ordered. Colonel Doyen's drop pods launched. 50 pods accelerated toward the dread carrier at crushing speed. Anti-aircraft fire destroyed 3 pods before they reached the target. The other 47 punched through the bioship's hull and delivered their deadly cargo. 470 Marines stormed into the dread carrier. They immediately faced waves of defending drones, the corridors filled with gunfire and screaming. Human weapons roared. Kravik warriors shrieked. Blood and biological fluid covered the walls. Sergeant Tejo's team fought through the first chamber, using grenades to clear groups of enemies. His armor took dozens of hits, but it held. The power armor made each Marine a walking tank, nearly invincible against individual drones. Push forward. Find the Queen Chamber, Tejo ordered. The Marines advanced meter by meter. Every corridor was a battle. Every chamber was filled with enemies. But humans were better at close quarters combat. They had evolved fighting each other in brutal wars. The Kravik had evolved fighting prey species who ran away. In close combat, humans were more vicious. Outside, the battle continued. Eugen's destroyer Swift Strike took a direct hit from a dread carrier's biocannon. The shot punched through her forward armor and destroyed the bridge. Eugen and her command crew died instantly. The ship did not stop fighting. The second-in-command took over from engineering. They kept firing until their ammunition ran out. Then they rammed the dread carrier at full speed. The impact created a massive breach in the bioship's hull, killing thousands of drones and damaging critical systems. Yujin's sacrifice saved countless lives, but the cost was high. The assault group was down to 5 ships. Captain Minho saw the swift strike die on his screens. He felt anger burn in his chest, but he pushed it down. Emotion could wait. Victory could not. All ships concentrate fire on the first dread carrier. Support the marine assault. Inside the dread carrier, Taiho's team reached the Queen Chamber. It was a massive organic cavern, filled with bioluminescent light. In the center, 3 Kravik queens, each the size of a bus, directed the swarm through psychic commands. Plant explosives. Full payload, Taiho ordered. His demo expert moved forward, but a queen struck out with a massive claw. The marine was thrown across the chamber, his armor crumpled. He was dead before he hit the ground. Taiho grabbed the explosives himself. "Cover me!" His team laid down suppressive fire while Taiho ran toward the queens. Claws struck at him. He dodged and rolled, moving with desperate speed. He reached the first queen and planted the charges on her massive body. A claw caught him in the side. His armor cracked. Warning lights filled his helmet display. He ignored them and moved to the second queen. More charges. The third queen screamed and tried to crush him. Taiho dove under her massive body and placed the last charges. Charges set. "Everyone out!" The Marines retreated, fighting their way back through the corridors. Behind them, the timer counted down. 10 seconds, 9, 8. Taiho did not make it out. A wave of drones overwhelmed him in the final corridor. He fought until his last breath, taking dozens of enemies with him. His team heard his final words over the comm. "Tell my family I died well." The explosives detonated. The Queen Chamber exploded in a massive fireball. The 3 Hive Queens died instantly. Across the battlefield, 1 million Kravik drones suddenly went still. Their coordination vanished. They began attacking each other in confusion. "First dread carrier is down," Doyen reported to Jinho. "Moving to the second target." But the assault group was dying. Minho's Defiant had taken too much damage. Life support was failing. The crew worked in vacuum suits, but the ship was finished as a combat vessel. "Admiral, the Defiant is done," Minho reported. His voice was calm, almost casual. "Reactors are critical. Weapons offline. I am going to do something useful with what is left." Jinho understood immediately. "Minho no. Abandon ship. That is an order." "With respect, sir, I decline. This ship can still move. That means it can still fight." Minho ordered his crew to evacuate. Most refused. They had served with him for years. If he was staying, they were staying. "It has been an honor, Admiral," Minho said. "The honor was mine, old friend." The Defiant turned toward the second dread carrier. Its engines burned bright as it accelerated to ramming speed. Kravik drones swarmed it, trying to stop it. They failed. The cruiser hit the dread carrier at full velocity. The impact was catastrophic. The Defiant's reactors breached on contact, creating an explosion equivalent to a small nuclear weapon. The dread carrier's hull fractured. Its internal systems collapsed. 40,000 Kravik died in seconds, including another group of queens. 2 million more drones lost coordination and went mad. Jinho watched his friend die and felt something break inside. But he could not stop, not yet. 1 dread carrier remained. 1 group of queens still controlled millions of drones. All ships, final push. We end this now. The remaining 4 ships of the assault group advanced on the 3rd dread carrier. They were damaged, low on ammunition, running on failing systems. But they kept fighting. Hana calculated a desperate solution. "Admiral, we could use the jump drive. Make a point-blank transition inside the dread carrier's hull. The exotic matter field would tear it apart from inside. That would likely destroy the Indomitable as well," Jinho said. "Yes, sir, but it would end the battle." Jinho thought about his crew, young men and women who trusted him to lead them. He thought about Minho, Yujin, Taiho, and all the others who had already died today. He thought about the Velans on the planet below, waiting to see if they would live or die. The choice was easy. Engineering, prepare for emergency jump. Navigation, calculate coordinates for point-blank transition inside the target. All hands, abandon ship, that is an order. Everyone to the escape pods now. Most of the crew refused to leave. They had come this far together. They would finish together. "Sir, we are ready for the jump," the navigation officer reported. Jinho looked at his bridge crew. They were tired, scared, but determined. They were the best humanity had to offer. "It has been a privilege serving with you." Execute jump, space twisted. Reality bent. They looked up at the sky where the battle had raged. Their sensors showed the imp. The victory celebration on Velan Prime lasted only 6 hours. Then Hana Kim's sensors detected something that made her blood run cold. Admiral, we have incoming signals. Multiple jump signatures on long-range scan. She worked her console faster, her expression growing darker. Sir, this is bad. 5 Kravik hive fleets are entering the system. 8 million warriors, and 3 dread carriers. The bridge went silent. Everyone understood what this meant. The Kravik had not retreated in defeat. They had retreated to call for reinforcements. Now they were coming back with overwhelming force. Jinho studied the tactical display. The red icons representing enemy ships filled his screen like a spreading disease. 8 million drones, 3 dread carriers, each the size of a small moon. His fleet was damaged, tired, and low on ammunition. This was not a fight they could win. Time until they reach Velan Prime, he asked calmly. 4 hours at their current speed, Hana replied. Captain Minho stepped forward. Sir, we need to retreat. We have completed our mission. The Valens are evacuating. We can jump out now and return with reinforcements. Colonel Doyen shook his head. By the time we get back, the Kravik will have finished the Valens and moved on to their next target. We cannot abandon them. We also cannot fight 8 million enemies, Minho argued. I am not suggesting cowardice, just basic mathematics. We will die here for nothing. Jinho listened to his officers' debate. He knew Minho was right. Military doctrine was clear. Never fight a battle you cannot win. Retreat, regroup, and return with advantage. It was smart thinking, but smart thinking did not save the Valens. Smart thinking left innocent people to die. Major Sorahan spoke up. Admiral, I have run calculations. Our reactors have enough fuel for one more full-power engagement. If we initiate Hellfire Protocol immediately and maintain it until fuel exhaustion, we can generate approximately 4 hours of maximum combat effectiveness. And then? Jinho asked. Then our ships become dead metal floating in space. No power, no weapons, no life support. We would have to abandon ship. Minho looked at Sora in disbelief. You are seriously suggesting we burn all our fuel fighting a battle we cannot win? That is suicide. Before anyone could respond, a young voice interrupted. Lieutenant Yujin Quan, captain of the destroyer Swift Strike, appeared on the communication screen. She was the youngest officer in the fleet, only 26 years old. Her ship had taken heavy damage in the first battle, but her crew had made emergency repairs. Admiral, I have a suggestion. The Alamo Gambit. Everyone turned to look at her. The Alamo Gambit was a theoretical tactic taught in military academy. It was named after an ancient Earth battle where a small force held position against impossible odds to buy time for others to escape. In the original battle, everyone died. In the theoretical version, the outcome was the same. Explain, Jinho ordered. We split the fleet. 6 ships establish a defensive perimeter around Velan Prime. The other 6, including the Indomitable, conduct a direct assault on the Kravik command structure. The defensive group holds as long as possible, buying time for civilian evacuation. The assault group tries to decapitate the Kravik leadership. That is a suicide mission, Minho said flatly. Both groups will be destroyed. Yes, Yujin agreed. But we might save the Velans, and we might hurt the Kravik badly enough that they think twice before attacking another council world. Jinho looked at the faces on his screen, his officers, his crew looking back at him. They were young and old, male and female, experienced veterans and fresh recruits. They all knew what Yujin was proposing. They all knew they would probably die, but not one of them looked away. Not one of them suggested abandoning the Velans. This was what it meant to be human. To stand between evil and the innocent even when victory was impossible. Especially when victory was impossible, because someone had to stand, someone had to fight, and humans had been fighting impossible odds since they first learned to make fire in the darkness. Contact the council, Jinho ordered. Tell them to send every evacuation ship they have. We are buying them time. Minho stiffened. Sir, you're approving the Alamo Gambit? I am. Captain Minji Huang will command the defensive group. I will lead the assault group. Begin preparations immediately. The crew moved to execute orders, but Minho remained. Admiral, there has to be another way. Jinho put a hand on his friend's shoulder. There is no other way, Minho. We are Deathworlders. The galaxy called us because they needed someone willing to do the impossible. Now is our chance to show them what that means. We could jump to safety, live to fight another day. And when we looked back at the stars, we would know we left innocent people to die. Could you live with that? Minyo was quiet for a long moment. Then he shook his head. No, sir. I could not. Neither could I. That is the difference between us and them, Minho. We do not calculate acceptable losses in moral terms. Every life matters. Every innocent person deserves protection, even if it costs us everything. Within 30 minutes, the fleet split. Captain Minji Huang took command of 6 ships, 3 frigates, 2 destroyers, and 1 cruiser. Her orders were simple. Establish defensive positions around Valen Prime and hold the line. Minji was a quiet woman who rarely smiled. She had come from a military family and had spent 20 years in service. Her tactical skills were legendary. If anyone could hold against impossible odds, it was her. She positioned her ships in overlapping fields of fire around the planet. Every approach vector was covered. Her crew set up mines, automated turrets, and sensor nets. They prepared kill zones and fallback positions. They did everything possible to maximize their defensive advantage. On the planet below, the Velans worked frantically to evacuate. Council ships arrived to transport civilians to safety. Thousands of winged beings flew toward the evacuation points. Carrying their children and elderly, they looked up at the human ships surrounding their planet and felt a confusing mix of emotions: gratitude, guilt, sorrow. These strangers were about to die protecting them. Jinho's assault group prepared for their suicide mission. 6 ships, the Indomitable, 2 cruisers, and 3 destroyers, including Yujin's battered Swift Strike. Their target was the 3 dread carriers at the center of the Kravik formation. Dread carriers were the Kravik's ultimate weapon. Each one was a living bioship 10 kilometers long, carrying 50,000 elite warrior drones and housing a cluster of hive queens. The queens directly controlled the swarm through psychic links. Kill the queens and the entire Kravik force would lose coordination. It was a good plan in theory. In practice, getting close enough to attack a dread carrier meant penetrating millions of defending drones. No one had ever succeeded. Humans were about to try. Sora initiated Hellfire Protocol across both groups. Reactor temperatures spiked into dangerous levels immediately. Alarms rang throughout every ship. The engineers silenced them and kept working. They knew the risks. They accepted them. Colonel Doyen assembled his Marines. Listen up. We are about to conduct boarding operations on 3 dread carriers simultaneously. Intel suggests each carrier has approximately 50,000 defenders inside. Our job is to fight through them and reach the Queen chambers. We are 500 Marines total. That is 100 enemies for every one of us. I like those odds, some Marines laughed. It was dark humor, but it helped. They checked their weapons and armor one last time. Many recorded final messages to loved ones. Some prayed. Some sat in silence. Sergeant Teho Shin walked among them. Remember your training. Stay together. Watch your corners. And if you die, make sure you take 100 bugs with you. The Kravik fleet entered attack range. 8 million warriors arranged in perfect formation around the 3 massive dread carriers. They advanced slowly, confidently. The hive mind had calculated the odds. Victory was certain. Jinho stood on the bridge of the Indomitable and opened fleet-wide communications. Every human in both groups heard his voice. Our species survived ice ages. We survived plagues that killed billions. We survived world wars and nuclear fire. We survived because we never abandoned our own. The Valens are our own now. Today we show the galaxy what Deathworlders do when someone needs saving. Today we prove that courage is not the absence of fear, but acting despite it. Whatever happens, know this. Humanity will remember you. The galaxy will remember you, and the Kravik will remember to fear us. All ships advance. Show them what humans can do. The 12 human ships moved forward to meet 8 million enemies. Behind them, Valen Prime continued its evacuation. Ahead of them, Death waited with open claws. But Death would find that humans did not die easily. And they did not die quietly. They died fighting with weapons blazing and war cries on their lips. The Kravik were about to learn a hard lesson. Never threaten something a human has decided to protect. The Kravik swarm moved like a living nightmare. 3 million insect-like warriors filled the space around Valen Prime, their chittering communications creating a wall of noise across all frequencies. Each drone was the size of a human, covered in thick biological armor with razor-sharp claws and acid glands. They moved with perfect coordination, directed by the hive mind. When the 12 human ships appeared, the Kravik hive queens felt something close to amusement. 12 ships against 3 million warriors. The calculation was simple. These newcomers would be consumed in minutes, and then the feast on Valen Prime would continue. The hive mind ordered 2 million drones to intercept the human fleet. The remaining million would stay to continue the planetary bombardment. It was more than enough. Each human ship would face over 160,000 enemies. No species could survive those odds. The hive mind did not understand humans yet. It was about to get an education. On the bridge of the indomitable Admiral Jinho watched the swarm approach on his tactical display. The red mass of enemies filled the screen like a blood-red ocean. He felt no fear. He had fought impossible odds before. All ships report ready, Minho announced. Arrow formation locked. Weapons charged. Hana confirmed targeting solutions. Lieutenant Hana Kim's fingers danced across her console. Primary targets identified. Kinetic penetrators loaded. Firing solutions calculated for maximum kill efficiency. Sora, reactor status? Major Sora Han's voice came through the comm. All reactors stable. Ready to initiate Hellfire Protocol on your command. Jinho took a deep breath. All ships, this is Jinho. Today we fight for people who cannot fight for themselves. Today we show the galaxy what humanity stands for. Remember your training. Trust your crew. And let these bugs learn what happens when they threaten the innocent. Execute arrow formation. Maximum acceleration. Weapons free. The 12 human ships moved as one. Their engines flared bright blue as they accelerated toward the Kravik swarm. The G-forces hit instantly. 15 times Earth gravity pressed down on every crew member. In the observer station, Chirik screamed as the acceleration crushed him into his harness. His bones creaked. His vision darkened. The human crew barely noticed. They had trained for this their entire lives. Their bodies, evolved on a death world, could handle stress that would kill softer species. They worked their stations with steady hands even as 15 times their body weight pressed down on them. The fleet hit attack velocity in 30 seconds. They were moving at a speed that Council ships could never reach. The arrow formation was perfect, all 12 ships in a tight wedge pattern. Entering weapons range, Hana reported, firing kinetic penetrators. The Indomitable shuddered as railguns along its hull launched tungsten rods at a fraction of light speed. The other 11 ships did the same. 72 projectiles, each weighing several tons, crossed the distance to the Kravik swarm in less than a second. The impact was devastating. At relativistic velocity, the tungsten rods did not just hit the Kravik drones. They passed through them like bullets through paper. Each rod punched through hundreds of drones before its energy was spent. The drones did not just die. They exploded into fragments that killed other drones around them. In the first salvo, humanity killed 50,000 Kravik warriors. The hive mind recoiled in shock. That was not possible. No weapon should be that efficient. Council species used energy weapons designed to disable targets with minimal damage. These human weapons were designed only to kill, and they were terrifyingly effective. The swarm adapted quickly. The drones dispersed their formation, spreading out to make themselves harder targets. This was exactly what Jinho expected. Swarm is dispersing, Hana reported. They are trying to reduce target density. Perfect. Initiate Reaper Protocol. All ships break formation and engage at will. The tight arrow formation exploded outward as 12 ships scattered in different directions. Each ship carved its own path through the swarm, railguns firing continuously. The dispersed formation meant the Kravik could not concentrate their forces. Every time they swarmed toward one human ship, they exposed themselves to fire from others. Captain Minho commanded a squadron of 6 frigates. His ships moved in a coordinated dance, covering each other's blind spots. His flagship, the Defiant, led the charge. Rotary railguns along the ship's spine fired 30 rounds per second, each round killing multiple targets. Target-rich environment, Minho's weapons officer reported with grim satisfaction. Keep firing. Do not let them regroup. The Kravik tried to swarm individual ships using their numbers to overwhelm human defenses. But human point defense systems were ready. Automated turrets tracked and destroyed drones that got too close. The few that reached the hull found armor designed to withstand meteor impacts. Their claws could not penetrate. Some drones tried to spray acid on the ships. The acid that could melt through Council vessel hulls barely marked human armor. The ships were built to withstand Earth's corrosive ocean depths and volcanic heat. In the Indomitable's marine bay, Colonel Doyen Lee watched the battle on tactical screens. His 500 Marines were ready in their drop pods, waiting for targets. power armor painted black stood silent in perfect rows, each suit 7 feet tall and equipped with enough weapons to level a building. "Colonel," Jinho's voice came through the comm, "we have identified 3 Krivik command vessels, large bioships coordinating the swarm. I'm sending you coordinates." Doyen smiled inside his helmet. "Marines, mount up. We are going hunting." The drop pods launched from the Indomitable's belly, 50 pods, each carrying 10 Marines, accelerated toward the Kravik command vessels at speeds that would turn unprotected humans into paste. But the Marines were not unprotected. Their power armor had its own inertial dampeners and crash systems. Sergeant Tai-Ho Shin led the first assault team. His pod hit a Kravik bioship at full velocity, punching through the organic hull like a hammer through an egg. The pod doors blew open, and 10 Marines stormed into the bioship's interior. The Kravik inside attacked immediately. Dozens of warrior drones rushed the Marines with claws and acid. Tai-Ho's team opened fire. Their rifles fired explosive rounds designed for maximum stopping power. Each shot tore through multiple enemies. "Clear the corridor. Move forward. Find the neural cluster," Tai-Ho ordered. The Marines advanced through the bioship, killing everything that moved. The Kravik tried to swarm them in the tight corridors. It did not work. Human armor was too strong. Human weapons were too powerful. And humans had something the Kravik did not understand: tactical flexibility. The Marines used grenades, breaching charges, and close combat weapons to clear each chamber. In space, the battle continued. 2 hours into the fight, humanity had destroyed over 1 million Kravik drones, but the cost was mounting. 3 human frigates had sustained heavy damage. 1 destroyer had lost its main railgun. The crews worked through injuries that would hospitalize Council species, making emergency repairs while still fighting. "Sir, reactor temperatures are climbing," Sora reported. "We have been in Hellfire protocol for 90 minutes. Systems are stressed." Jinho checked the tactical display. "Still over 900,000 Kravik drones active. How much longer can we maintain?" 2 more hours, maybe 3. After that, we risk containment failure. That will have to be enough. All ships, increase fire rate. We finish this before our systems fail." The human fleet intensified their assault, every weapon fired at maximum capacity. The crews worked through exhaustion, ignoring alarms and warnings. This was what they trained for. This was what Deathworlders did. Inside the command bioship, Tai-Ho's team reached the neural cluster. A massive organic brain, pulsing with bioluminescent light, controlled this section of the swarm. Tai-Ho planted explosive charges while his team held off waves of defending drones. Charges set. "Everyone out now!" The Marines ran for the extraction point. Behind them, the charges detonated. The neural cluster exploded in a burst of biological matter. Instantly, thousands of Kravik drones connected to this command vessel went still. Their coordination vanished. They began attacking each other in confusion. "Command Vessel 1 is down," Doyen reported to Jinho. 2 more to go. "Good work, Colonel. Continue the mission." On the command deck of the lead Kravik hive ship, the Queens felt something they had never experienced in their long lives: fear. These humans were not like Council species. Council species fought defensively, always trying to minimize casualties. Humans fought like apex predators. They did not care about safety or comfort. They cared about winning. The hive mind calculated and recalculated. The numbers no longer made sense. Humans should not be this effective. Their weapons should not be this deadly. Their tactics should not work this well. But effectiveness was not about numbers. It was about will. And humans had spent 4 million years learning to fight against a planet that wanted them dead. A few million bugs were nothing compared to that. 3 hours into the battle, the Kravik swarm broke. For the first time in recorded history, the Kravik retreated. The remaining drones scattered in all directions, abandoning their attack on Velan Prime. Humanity had killed 1.2 million Kravik warriors. The cost was 3 frigates heavily damaged and crew casualties in the hundreds. But the Velans were saved. On Velan Prime, the surviving population emerged from their shelters. The human war fleet moved through space like a pack of wolves. 12 ships in perfect formation, their engines burning bright against the darkness. These were not the comfortable exploration vessels the Council used. These were weapons designed for one purpose: to kill. Inside the flagship Indomitable, Admiral Jinho stood on the command bridge. The room was dark except for the glow of computer screens and tactical displays. Everything was designed for efficiency, not comfort. The crew worked at their stations with focused intensity. Jinho called his senior officers to the strategy room. Captain Minho arrived first, followed by Lieutenant Hana Kim, the tactical officer. Colonel Doyen Lee commanded the Marines, and Major Sora Han was the chief engineer. Also present was their unwanted guest, Chirik, a bird-like Valonian who served as the council liaison. Chirik had been horrified from the moment he boarded the Indomitable. The gravity was too strong. The air was too thin. The temperature was too cold. Everything about the ship was designed to push its crew to their limits. He struggled to breathe and had to use a support harness to stand upright. "How can you work in these conditions?" Chirik asked, his voice strained. Minho glanced at him. "These are normal conditions for us. Actually, we have reduced gravity for this mission. Usually we run at 1.2 Earth standard to keep everyone sharp." Chirik looked like he might faint. On his home world, such gravity would crush most beings. Humans lived and worked in it like it was nothing. Jinho activated the holographic display. A three-dimensional map of Valen space appeared, showing the Kravik positions in red. Here is the situation. 3 hive fleets surround Valen Prime. Intelligence estimates 3 million warrior drones total, plus command vessels. They are currently in planetary bombardment formation. Hana stepped forward. Standard Kravik tactics. They cluster in high-density swarms and use overwhelming numbers. They have strong biological armor but limited ranged weapons. Most of their attacks are melee-based or short-range acid sprays. Weaknesses? Jinho asked. They move in predictable patterns. Their hive mind makes them coordinated but inflexible. If we disrupt their command structure, the drones become confused. Also, they pack too tightly. A single penetrating shot can hit dozens of targets. Doyen pulled up his own display. Marines are ready for boarding operations if needed. We have 500 soldiers equipped with power armor and kinetic weapons. Drop pods are loaded and ready. Chirik interrupted, his voice shaking. Boarding operations? You cannot be serious. No species can survive boarding a Kravik hive ship. The biological defenses alone would kill you in minutes. Doyen looked at the alien with calm eyes. Our armor is sealed. We can operate in vacuum, extreme heat, toxic atmospheres, and radiation zones. Kravik biological weapons are not a significant threat to humans in full combat gear. But the casualties will be acceptable, Doyen finished. We are Marines, Liaison Chirik. We do not expect to survive every mission. We expect to complete every mission. The Valonian went silent, clearly disturbed by this attitude. In council culture, lives were precious. You protected your people at all costs. The idea of acceptable casualties was barbaric. Sora activated her engineering display. I want to discuss the Hellfire Protocol. We can overclock our reactors to increase weapon output by 40%. This gives us the firepower of 18 ships instead of 12. Risks? Jinho asked. Reactor stress will be extreme. We might suffer containment failures. Coolant systems will be overwhelmed. We can maintain Hellfire status for approximately 4 hours before we start losing ships to mechanical failure. Minho frowned. 4 hours might not be enough to clear 3 million drones. Then we make every shot count, Jinho said simply. Sora, prepare all ships for Hellfire Protocol. We will activate it when we enter combat range. Hana brought up the tactical plan. I recommend arrow formation on approach. We punch through the center of their formation at maximum acceleration. Kinetic penetrators at relativistic velocity should clear a path. Once we are inside their formation, we break into hunter-killer groups and engage targets of opportunity. Chirik looked at the plan with growing horror. This is insane. You are flying directly into the center of their fleet. They will surround you and tear you apart. That is the plan, Hana said calmly. Council doctrine teaches you to avoid being surrounded. Human doctrine says being surrounded means you can shoot in any direction. We want them to cluster around us. It makes them easier to kill. But the G-forces of that maneuver will be 15 gravities, Minho confirmed. Our crews are trained for it. We use impact harnesses and compression suits. It is uncomfortable but manageable. Chirik did the calculation in his head. 15 gravities would liquefy most council species. It would turn their insides to paste. Humans just called it uncomfortable. Jinho looked at each of his officers. Everyone understands their role. We jump into Valen space in 30 minutes. Once we arrive, there is no retreat. We commit fully or we do not commit at all. The Valens are counting on us. Humanity is counting on us. The galaxy is watching to see what Deathworlders can do. Let us show them. Sir, Hana said. What about rules of engagement? Does the council want us to attempt communication first? Offer surrender terms? Jinho was quiet for a moment. Then he turned to Chirik. Liaison, does the Kravik swarm accept surrender? No, Chirik admitted. They have never accepted surrender in recorded history. They consume all life they encounter. Then we do not waste time offering what they will not accept. Rules of engagement are simple. Destroy all hostile forces. No warnings, no mercy, no hesitation. We are not here to negotiate. We are here to win. The officers nodded and left to prepare their teams. Chirik remained behind, looking at Admiral Jinho with a mixture of fear and curiosity. Admiral, may I ask you a question? Of course. Why did you accept this mission? Your fleet is small. The odds are terrible. You could have refused and no one would blame you, so why? Jinho looked at the star map, at the small blue dot representing Velan Prime. My species has a saying, Liaison Chirik. It comes from our ancient history. Evil triumphs when good people do nothing. The Velans are innocent. The Kravik are evil. We have the power to stop evil from triumphing. That is all the reason we need. But the cost of doing what is right is always high, Jinho interrupted. But the cost of doing nothing is higher. If we let the Kravik destroy the Velans, they will move to the next target and the next and the next. Eventually they will reach Earth. I would rather fight them here now when we can save lives than wait for them to come to us. Chirik understood then. This was not bravery or stupidity. This was calculation. Humans understood that sometimes you must fight, even when the odds are bad, because not fighting is worse. Your species is very different from ours, Chirik said quietly. Yes, Jinho agreed. We come from a world that tried to kill us every day. We learned to fight back. We learned that survival requires strength, courage, and the willingness to protect the weak. These are not just military values, Liaison. These are human values. The ship's intercom activated. Jump in 5 minutes. All hands to combat stations. Jinho put on his command helmet. You should strap into a crash harness, Liaison. The acceleration is going to be rough. Chirik made his way to the observer station, his mind racing. He had thought humans were simple barbarians. Now he was not so sure. Perhaps they were something more dangerous, barbarians with purpose. The fleet jumped. Space twisted and reality bent as the 12 human warships disappeared from Firebase Orion and reappeared at the edge of Velan space. The Kravik swarm detected them immediately. 3 million warrior drones turned as one toward the human fleet. The hive mind calculated victory in minutes. The hive mind was about to learn a very painful lesson about underestimating Deathworlders. The warning alarms screamed through the command center of the Galactic Council station. Commander Yuna stared at her screen with growing horror. The distress signal came from the Velan colony, a peaceful world on the edge of Council space. The message was simple and terrifying. They are here. Millions of them. Please help us. Yuna knew exactly who they were. The Kravik swarm had found another target. These insect-like creatures traveled in massive groups, eating everything in their path. They destroyed planets and killed entire species. The Council had fought them before and lost badly every time. She pulled up the sensor data and felt her heart sink. 3 Kravik hive fleets surrounded the Velan planet. Each fleet contained millions of warrior drones. The Velans were a species of winged herbivores who lived peaceful lives. They had no weapons, no armies, and no chance against this enemy. Yuna ran simulation after simulation on her computer. Every scenario ended the same way. If the Council sent their defense fleet, they would arrive too late or get destroyed trying to save the Velans. The Council's ships were built for exploration and diplomacy. They were not made for this kind of war. She called an emergency meeting of the Council leaders. Representatives from 47 different species appeared on the holographic displays around the room. Their faces showed the same fear Yuna felt. Councillor Thivin spoke first. He was old and wise, from a species that valued careful thinking above all else. We have received the distress call from Velan Prime. Our military analysts say we cannot win this fight. If we send our fleet, we will lose ships and still fail to save the Velans. Angry voices filled the room. Some councillors demanded they try anyway. Others argued that losing their fleet would leave the entire Council defenseless. The argument went in circles for an hour. Yuna watched the clock, knowing that every minute they debated, more Velans died. Finally, Thivin raised his hand for silence. There is one option we have not discussed. An option that many of you will hate, but it may be our only choice. The room went quiet. Everyone waited. We contact the Deathworlders, Thivin said. The reaction was immediate and loud. Half the counselors shouted in protest. The other half looked shocked. Una felt her stomach turn at the suggestion, but she understood why Thiven proposed it. Humanity had joined the Galactic Council only 5 years ago. They came from a planet called Earth, classified as a Class 12 death world. Most planets in the galaxy were safe and comfortable. Death worlds were different. They were hostile places where everything tried to kill you. Extreme weather, dangerous animals, deadly diseases, and natural disasters were normal on these planets. Earth was one of the worst death worlds ever discovered. It had survived 5 mass extinction events. Its atmosphere had been poisonous for most of its history. Humans evolved in this nightmare environment, and it showed in their biology. They had redundant organs. If one kidney failed, they had another. Their bones were incredibly dense and strong. They healed from injuries that would kill most species. They could survive in temperatures that would cook or freeze council species. They could go days without water and weeks without food. They had adrenaline, a chemical that let them ignore pain and fear during danger. But what truly frightened the council was human psychology. Humans were aggressive. They formed tribes and fought each other for thousands of years. Their history was filled with wars, conquests, and violence. Even their entertainment was violent. They watched fictional stories about battles and conflict for fun. Most council species had evolved past violence. They solved problems through talking and compromise. Humans solved problems by hitting them until they stopped being problems. When humans first applied to join the council, the debate lasted for months. Some species refused to allow such dangerous creatures into civilized space. Others argued that humanity deserved a chance. Eventually, humanity was accepted, but with restrictions. They could not bring their full military into council space. They could not interfere with other species. They were on probation. Now Thiven wanted to call them for help. The humans have a military base at Firebase Orion. Thiven continued. They have ships there. Warships. Real warships, not like our exploration vessels. If any species in the council can fight the Kravik, it is them. Counselor Rena, a beautiful crystalline being, spoke up. Her voice was cold. The humans are barbarians. They come from a world of death and violence. If we invite them to use their weapons here, what message does that send? That the council endorses violence? The message it sends, Una interrupted, is that we will not abandon our members to die. The Valens are counting on us. If we do nothing, we are already sending a terrible message. The debate continued, but Una could see the shift happening. Fear of the Kravik was stronger than fear of humanity. One by one, counselors agreed. The vote was called. It passed by a narrow margin. Una was assigned to send the message. She opened a communication channel to Firebase Orion and waited. A human face appeared on her screen. He had dark hair and sharp eyes that seemed to see right through her. His uniform was pure black with silver insignia. This is Admiral Jinho Park of the Terran Defense Fleet. How can I help you, Commander? Una explained the situation. She showed him the tactical data and sensor readings. She expected him to refuse. The numbers were impossible. 12 human ships against 3 million Kravik drones. It was suicide. Instead, Jinho studied the data for several minutes in silence. Then he looked up at her. I see predictable movement patterns. They rely on overwhelming numbers instead of strategy. They cluster too tightly, which makes them vulnerable to area effect weapons. Yes, I think we can do this. Una could not believe what she was hearing. Admiral, perhaps you do not understand the scale of this threat. Millions of— I understand perfectly, Commander. Jinho's voice was calm and confident. You are asking if humans can fight an enemy that outnumbers us and wants to genocide an innocent species. The answer is yes. We have experience with this type of situation. We will deploy immediately. The Council is grateful, Admiral. How many ships will you bring? 12 ships should be sufficient. 12? Admiral, that is not enough. You need— Commander Una, Jinho interrupted gently. You called us because you needed someone who knows how to win impossible fights. Trust us to do our job. Firebase Orion will deploy within the hour. Jinho out. The screen went dark. Una sat back in her chair, uncertain if she had just saved the Valens or made a terrible mistake. In 1 hour, she would find out if the Deathworlders were truly as dangerous as everyone feared. On Firebase Orion, Admiral Jinho turned to his second-in-command. Captain Minho, prepare the fleet for immediate deployment. Combat protocols. This is not a drill. Captain Minho Choi nodded. Yes, sir. All ships? All ships. And Minho, make sure everyone understands. We are not just representing humanity today. We are showing the galaxy what happens when you threaten innocent people in front of a Deathworlder. Minho smiled. It was not a kind smile. They are going to learn, sir. They are definitely going to learn.